What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back into another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And guys, this is yet another episode of the Kingdom Crew podcast. It is not just about me today. I'm joined by my good friend Michael Darcy as always, but if you guys notice in the middle of your screen, we have our good friend Lucas Murphy, or better known as the Beat of KC. Got to do a Kingdom Crew episode anytime that we get him on here. But guys, we are going to talk all things Chiefs today. Just kind of, discuss anything really. Any topics are on the table. It's the middle of the off season, so there's not too many newsworthy things to talk about, but we'll just kind of discuss like expectations for the season, maybe newcomers we're excited about. But Lucas, I did want to ask you a question, one that we didn't talk about on Michael's channel in the video we just did over there. But what was your reaction to the Chiefs officially extending Trey Smith right before the deadline for players on the franchise tag to sign an extension?
I think it's good. I think it shows like the fact that you're loyal to guys who you've drafted. I think obviously we know he's shouldn't have been drafted where he got drafted. So I think like he's getting compensated for that.
For sure.
I'm super excited that he's back. I don't like the limbo that you get when you get the franchise tag. I mean, we saw that with Chris Jones and him sitting in the stands watching the game. And so I'm glad we were able to really kind of get that and avoid that type of thing. And not that Trey would do that, but I'm glad he is helped solidifying a line that's going to protect Patrick Mahomes. So I'm super excited about it. Now, on the flip side, I think obviously making him the highest paid right guard, or really guard in general, and resetting the market might have been a little extreme because down the road, you're obviously going to have other guys that you're going to have to pay for. But I do think like it shows like if you show up, do your job, you're not really injury prone, you're kind of that dude. And I mean, he's a savage. Like we see him in run blocking. He goes out there, he's mauling people. I'm glad that he's locked up and will be a Kansas City Chief for a while now.
Yeah, so Michael, I'll get to you here in a second, excuse me. But I did kind of want to throw in my 2 cents here because Lucas, I don't know how much of us you've actually watched, but like my take on Trey Smith has been known for a while now. I think that because I kind of expected this to happen, right? The whole big extension, making him the highest paid right guard and resetting that market again. I'm not a huge fan of paying this much money for an interior offensive lineman, especially Trey Smith, because he's a top 10 to 15-ish interior offensive lineman, and the Chiefs made him the no doubt highest paid player at the position, as if he is the best. Now, I know the Chiefs are kind of banking on some improvement here. He's still young. They think his best days are ahead of him. And Brett Veach has been very good about, not paying guys whenever it's too late, whenever they're getting up there in age. And he's more so paying Trey Smith for what he thinks he's going to do. That said, though, Michael pointed this out. Trey Smith has never been an all-pro, as opposed to a guy like Joe Thuney, who the Chiefs actually, originally resetted the guard market for a few years ago when they signed him. But Thuney was an all-pro before he came to Kansas City, continue being an all-pro. So, Michael, and now I'll throw it back to you. What are some ways that Trey Smith can make this contract worth it for the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think he's going to improve maybe to the level of Joe Thuney? He doesn't even have to be to the level of Joe Thuney, but do you see him improving over the duration of this contract? And also another thing that I wanted to throw in as well is the fact that with Trey Smith now being paid as much as he is, it means that it's key that the Chiefs need their plan at left tackle to hit.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of resources invested in their interior offensive line, which is kind of scary because the offensive line has been such an issue, in the 2 Super Bowls that they have lost. I will say this. Matt Derrick went on the Zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810, and he actually said that Trey Smith, in his opinion, Trey Smith is actually a better guard than Joe Tooney is right now. I thought that was very interesting, and I'm not sure if I agree with that logic, but I think it is interesting that one of the people who covers this Chiefs team very closely, believes that Trey Smith is a better guard right now than Joe Tooney. And I think that, youth and, age is probably a factor in that. I think if you had the choice between either, you'd probably take Joe Tooney next year. But I also think that, over the next couple of years, you could get an all-pro out of Trey Smith. And I also think that, when you see some of the other right guards get signed, making $25, $26 million a season, in 2 or 3 years, his contract's going to be about the average. And I think that's maybe a little bit above average, but even then, that's about what he's worth.
My other concern with this contract is the amount of money they're paying him. You think this is a guy that's going to protect Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's capable of that. But everyone considers run blocking to be his strength, right? But with that said, we don't really run the ball that much. So I think another way that the Chiefs can make this contract worth it is to simply run the ball more and take advantage of what you have on the interior offensive line, because they're also paying Creed Humphrey a lot of money already. We constantly hear about how good this interior is, and I think it'll still be good even despite, losing Joe Tooney over the offseason. The Chiefs need to utilize, where they have the money invested. And I think they need to run the ball a little bit more this year, because they also have a pretty nice stable of running backs that I think, are all going to be competing in training camp and preseason. Lucas, do you think this is finally the year that the Chiefs start running the ball a little bit more?
I do. I think, honestly, obviously we know Andy loves to throw the football. But I think you have to really kind of take in consideration like you said, the types of players you have and what they're good at scheming wise. But I don't think you solidify your running back room the way they did if you don't have the intent to run it a little bit more. And I'm kind of curious too how many of these running backs make it onto the roster, because I was just looking. You got Kareem Hunt, you got Elijah Mitchell, you drafted Rashee Smith, You still have the alligator guy, and so I think you have to really kind of take that into consideration. And one of the things one of my friends and I always talk about is we did not have. Oh, and I think I forgot Pacheco. Sorry. But we didn't have a guy that could just break off a type of run like Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And I think you have that now. Like Elijah Mitchell, whether he truly ends up making the team or not, he has a capability of breaking off a huge run. Rashee Smith, if you go back and watch his tape from SMU, the guy could break off massive runs. So I think and we saw how the Chiefs played last year. I mean, we were in every game was like a close game. It was almost coming down to a nail biter. It felt like every single game. And so I think if you start to take the lead and you get up by 10 or you get up, by 14, now you have the capabilities of running the football in a more effective way, to where you're not just hoping to gain, an average, we'll say 3 or 4 yards of a carry.
Yeah.
I think you have the capabilities of averaging potentially anywhere from 5 to 7 with the type of backs you have. So I do think that to really answer your question, yes, they do need to run the football more. It's just whether Andy can kind of set aside some of that ego with throwing the football and really kind of accept the fact that they do need to run it more. But I also think too, with Eric Bieniemy obviously not being a part of the staff anymore and has not been a part of the staff for a few years, that's where you're kind of lacking a little bit, because I think his voice on the sidelines for running the football and his impact with the running backs is kind of missing sometimes. So I'm hoping that he kind of sees what he has, and maybe, it gives you more chances too with throwing out of the backfield. And I know that's not really the topic, but you have so much flexibility with backs that, it should free up and give you the capabilities to run the football. They like to run the RPO. And
yes,
so,
they do.
And if they run the RPO effectively with the backs they have, I could definitely see them having success in the running game.
Well, see, I'm glad, you kind of are taking it a different direction here. This is what I wanted to happen. Because you were talking about the running backs and the thought just popped in my head. A lot of this is going to be dependent on the personnel at running back this year. They have a lot of guys that I think are capable of making the roster. Obviously, not all of them will. But this was one of my few gripes with the offseason. I didn't have many, but one is I said, I wish they invested a little bit more into running back. And I'm excited about Rashee Smith, but Rashee Smith is no slam dunk like this guy's going to contribute heavily this year type of player that you bring in. And like you said, Lucas, we saw in the Super Bowl, what Saquon Barkley was able to do, and really just his entire season. I mean, I think Saquon Barkley kind of reminded everyone this year that, hey, running backs still do kind of matter. And it's not even
generational ones do. At least those guys.
Here's the thing. This was going to bring me to my next point, which is I don't think you need to spend as much as the Eagles did on Saquon Barkley or invest in a Derrick Henry or someone like that. But you also can't spend nothing at the position. In the last few years, the Chiefs have really invested nothing in the running back.
And it's so difficult because I feel like the Chiefs just look at the offensive line. In areas that they think they're deficient, they'll throw money at Trey Smith. They're talking about giving George Karlaftis an extension, Trent McDuffie. If you're important enough, they're going to pay you. And it almost just seems like to Andy Reid, running back is just never that much of a priority. But what if they spent, another, I hate to say a first-round pick after the Clyde experiment, but what if they spent another first-round pick on a guy that they actually think could be a dude in this running back room? Because, you missed on Clyde to a certain extent. No, you missed on him. But, you can't let the Clyde experiment just completely rule out any chances you'll ever take a running back again.
One player that I was really hoping that with a running back, obviously that's the topic, is J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, we saw the type of season.
Don't remind me, man. Don't remind me.
I mean, the type of season he had with Los Angeles last year, and then he's obviously was a one-year kind of prove-it guy. And now you had an opportunity to go get him again, and we kind of let that slide. And granted, you got Elijah Mitchell, who I think has more top-end speed, maybe a little bit better pass catcher, but I really was kind of hoping we could maybe see a J.K. Dobbins come in. I just think, too, with the running back room, it's just so unique because they all kind of have their niche. Like, Pacheco has the ability to kind of do both. We know he always gets coined the phrase, he runs angry. Kareem Hunt's going to be your thumper. I think they're not going to rely on Kareem as much as, maybe they had to last year. But I also think, too, the depth of your running back room is pretty solid. If an injury were to happen, I don't think you're going to really lose a step. But I also, too, and when you guys are talking about, Saquon, you're talking about Derrick Henry, those offenses are really schemed around those guys. We're not really going to go into a matchup where we're going to be we're going to scheme Isaiah Pacheco this game, or we're going to scheme Kareem Hunt. We're going in, the offense playbook's going to be wide open. We're going to probably throw the football 60, 70% of the time. And that's just how the offense is going to work.
I just feel as if it's a disservice, really, the way that they've treated the running back position. It's a disservice to Mahomes, really, to not get him a better running back that really threatens defenses because – for the last however many years, we've been talking about too high defenses and how the Chiefs can't seem to figure it out because we don't have a running back that scares anyone. So we don't get teams out of too high very often. A good way to bring the deep ball back is to have, I'm just bringing up a name here, but I saw some rumors about Alvin Kamara maybe being on the chopping block. If that dude's available, go and get him. A surefire, contributor to the backfield. I wouldn't mind them adding one at this point in the offseason or right before the season. And J.K. Dobbins is a perfect name you brought up, Lucas, because that was a guy that I wanted last year. And I remember the Chiefs, they brought him in on a visit, and then they turned around and re-signed CEH the next day. And it's oh, come on, man. It almost reminds me exactly of the Melvin Ingram situation where the Chiefs brought him in on an off-season visit. This was really one of the cornerstone topics of the Kingdom Crew podcast. But when they brought in Ingram on a visit, and they're and then they signed Alex Okafor And it's like, come on, like go and get the upgrade. Like stop banking on the in-house guys that clearly have shown you what their ceiling is, and you need an improvement there.
Well, you brought up Kamara. That is Rashee Smith's comp.
Yeah.
Is Kamara actually on the chopping block?
I just saw like a couple spats on Twitter and like a couple articles saying that, he could be like a surprise cut candidate, or maybe they trade him or something like that. But I don't know for sure.
I could see it. The cap for the Saints is never good, and it hasn't been good. And I mean, one of the positives for them was that Derek Carr retired. And I know that's obviously not the talking points, but yeah, the Saints, they still have a lot of cap issues going on. So I could see it.
Yeah, for sure. But Michael, any other thoughts on maybe the Chiefs potentially adding some sort of veteran running back maybe late in the offseason? I don't mean to answer the question before you can even answer it, but I also feel as if there's so many guys. It's like, who are you getting rid of? Like, it would have to be someone who's like definitely an upgrade, right?
It would have to be an Alvin Kamara. And even then, it's just, the Chiefs are so comfortable with the guys they have in-house. Like, and another topic that we could kind of talk about, because I actually thought about doing something on my channel about this. You see the Rashee Rice suspension coming. Amari Cooper's a free agent. Keenan Allen's still a free agent.
Kadarius Toney's a free agent.
Is he in jail? Could he and Rashee Rice bunk up? He's
a rapper now.
Yeah, he's a rapper.
The Joker's busy.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, could the Chiefs go out and get a wide receiver in the absence of Rice?
Maybe. I don't know. I think you already have a theory on this. You were talking about Sky Moore sneaking onto the roster again because of this.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Chiefs would. This is insane. I think the Chiefs would trust Sky Moore over a Keenan Allen because at least he knows the system. At least he's been here long enough. And it's that blind loyalty, which is why CEH came back that one time.
Well, I think, too, it's cost-friendly. Like, he's already on your roster. You know what he's going to make. Like, Keenan Allen's still probably going to ask for a bag, even though he's on the back end of his career. And you know that Keenan Allen's still that dude. But, I mean, Sky Moore's cheap. He knows what he's supposed to do, at least, whether he does it or not. But he's supposed to do it. And so I think like you have some options still, and I don't know. It's interesting because I think like we talked. There's just so much depth this year that I don't know that they're going to be actively trying to cut guys that they may not necessarily need to cut. I think that they're gonna go. They already pretty much have a game plan, and now if like a random guy pops up like a J.K. Dobbins or something, I could see that, and then him coming on, but like tight end is deep, offensive line's pretty solid. I mean, we haven't even talked about the D line, but I'm overly hyped in the depth of the D line.
Well, you know what, Lucas, you're our guest. You don't come on here too often, so I mean, go ahead, talk about the D line.
Let's do it. I'm so hyped. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's start with just the sheer, because I said it before we started recording, but I think this is the deepest the defensive line has been in a while. And I still have, some question marks, kind of like, can George Karlaftis take another step? Can Omenihu stay healthy this year? Those kinds of things. But when you just look on paper, I mean, there's a lot more guys that I feel like you can throw out there that have a real chance of getting to the quarterback than years past.
Well, and one that I'm like super excited about, and I might get laughed at for this, is Felix. I mean, he's going into his third year. He's had time to learn. He's been putting in the work in the offseason. I mean, Felix still has a huge opportunity. Young guy. I mean, he's got great leadership around him. So Felix is one. I'm really excited. I'm super excited for Ashton Gelati. I think him and George already kind of known each other, and I think I'm almost positive they were working out together with Tamba. And so, I mean, that's another great option. But one thing that we've talked about is like Jerry Tillery. Like, I'm super excited about Jerry being a part of the
Jerry Tillery fan club. Lucas and I are
telling you,
get on the boat now.
Yeah. I think he just provides a whole nother dynamic to the defensive line. And I think what's going to be unique is like, you're not like, I mentioned in Darcy's podcast, like you're just not going to have these huge drop offs in areas where like maybe in years past. So like, let's say, Chris Jones needs to take a break. I'm not saying Jerry Tillery is Chris Jones, but Jerry Tillery can still get after.
He's actually a threat to get to the quarterback as opposed to like a Derek Nottie. Like
right.
It's really that's
exactly.
Like, and he's also a guy that can play inside and out, which Spags likes.
Right. And you're getting a healthy Charles Omenihu. And I mean, that guy on his social media, talking about he deserves more and all this stuff now that he's healthy. Wait till you see what I'm capable of. Like, okay, this is your chance, dude. Go out there and show it. So I think you're going to see a ferocious Charles Omenihu. And so, yeah, I'm super excited for our D-line. I think we're going to get after the quarterback more than we usually do. Definitely a lot more pressure. And I think with a secondary like we have, I think, we're going to have a good opportunity to have a really elite defense.
When Omar Norman-Lott led all of college football in pressures, and you're getting that guy in this defensive line room, like that's really good.
Yeah.
Well, Michael and I made a video earlier in the offseason, not too long ago, and we were talking about Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati, the newcomers, and which one maybe will produce more in year one. And I think I'm curious to hear your answer to this, Lucas. I'm kind of leaning towards Ashton Gelati, and the reason is because I feel like there's more of like a pressing need for someone to emerge at the edge position, which just gives him the chance. Whereas like Omar Norman-Lott, like he's got some vets ahead of him, and like Chris Jones is obviously going to be Chris Jones. I think Omar Norman-Lott, what you want out of him is just to see some flashes in year one, just be someone that you can line up next to Chris Jones on some third downs. He's a threat to get to the quarterback again, as opposed to like a Derek Nottie in years past. I think Omar Norman-Lott's pretty clearly the Tershawn Wharton replacement, but Lucas, between those two, who do you see making a bigger impact in year one?
I'm going to go Gelati just because I think he's going to have more opportunity to play. I think Norman-Lott obviously is a niche type of player.
Yes.
I mean, Darcy just mentioned what he was capable of doing at college when it came to pressures, and that's what his intent is. I don't think he's going to be playing 4 downs. I think he's going to be brought in with the intent of, okay, it's 3rd and long, get after it. Where I think Gelati, if he can prove himself, is going to have more of an opportunity to be at a higher rotational piece than Norman-Lott. And I mean, I believe they still brought Mike Pennell back. There's times where they may even bring in some of the DNs and put them at D tackle just to apply more pressure. And so I could see Gelati just getting a lot more opportunity. I think too, like you even mentioned, I think they're just in such a desperation to find a DN that is capable of finishing a sack and not just applying pressure. I think that's why he'll also get an opportunity to probably shine more.
Yeah. Well, when you look at him compared to like a Karlaftis or a Dana, I mean, it's been pretty evident the past couple seasons that those guys benefit a lot from playing next to Chris Jones. And that's not to say that they're not good players. Like, I think these are both guys that like you're happy as hell to have in your rotation, right? But like we're still kind of missing like the fastball at defensive end that like can go in there and win in the first 2 seconds of the play and like really rack up sacks. But Michael, go ahead, because you looked like you had some additional thoughts there.
Well, I was just gonna say, did you guys see what TJ Watt got paid the other day? 3 years, 140. Was it $140 million? It
was like 120 something, but it was over the next 3 years, which makes
it was 44 a year, which is just. I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around that. But, I think George Karlaftis is someone that is a really good number 2. And a lot of people kind of treat him like he is a number 1, especially among Chiefs fans. I want to get your take on this, Lucas. We've kind of gotten a little bit of reporting that the Chiefs are interested in getting an extension done with him before McDuffie. What do you think an extension for George Karlaftis could look like? Are you, willing to give him $22 million a year, which is what his, calculated market value is?
Me personally, if I was Brett Veach, I'm holding out one more year, and I know that that's playing. That's really playing it's a hard thing to do because if he goes out and has a career year, then the market goes up. But for me, and this is just me, I think McDuffie's more important right now than Karlaftis. But to answer your question, he just fits what Spags wants. He's got an endless motor. He goes wide, and then as the play's breaking down, that's where he gets most of his sacks. He's not a Derek Thomas where he can just fly off the edge and get to the quarterback. He's more of a as the
Frank Clark.
Yeah, as a play's breaking down, he's going to get to it. But I don't think that he's worth – I just personally don't think he's worth high-end dollar. I think the smart decision is to get him done early because that way, like we were talking about Trey Smith, like the market for Trey Smith was reset because of him. You're not going to reset the market because of George Karlaftis. And I think, too, as the market continues to climb for elite pass rushers, if you get a decent home in discount for George Karlaftis, it makes sense just because he fits the scheme. Mm-hmm. But I'm not paying high-end dollar. If that's what he's asking, throw up the deuces and see you somewhere else.
I give him like the Mike Dana extension that he got. I give him that in like a heartbeat, but I get a little nervous once we start getting up to like 16, 17, 18 million per year. I know that's probably what he's going to end up getting.
I think that's what he gets.
Yeah. What do you think?
His
Michael?
market value is $22 million a season. And seeing that 3-year, $66 million contract projection kind of makes me sick. I'm not going to lie. And I look at his, game on the field. I'm like, is that guy worth, over, $50 million? I don't know. I don't think so. And I'm not someone that's super sentimental when it comes to George Karlaftis. Like, I think he's a good player, but I don't think you can pay a good player great money. And I think that giving him that, like you said, would you do a Mike Dana contract? Absolutely. I don't know if he's going to even be willing to accept that. And he shouldn't accept that because he's been better.
I think too, and we talked about this in previous episodes. It's all about how Brett Veach forecasts his players, and Karlaftis is still very young. He still has a lot of upside. He's been more productive than Felix. He's been more productive than, in my opinion, obviously Mike Dana.
Yep.
No doubt. There is a reason to pay him, and he fits your scheme. And if you're a D coordinator who, has numerous Super Bowls, is not going anywhere, wants him, I think you're going to end up with a 18 to 20 million range.
I think he's very similar to Nick Bolton. We were talking about this earlier, Lucas, where the Chiefs are just going to value him more than anyone else. And even though, like, in the eyes of the league, he may not be worth that much, he is to Spags. And so the Chiefs are just going to pay him accordingly.
Right. Is there any world where they don't extend Trent McDuffie and they trade him? Because, he's probably going to get he's going to get north of $100 million.
There's no track record of Veach paying corners. There's just not. And he's young, and you could easily say he's a top 5 corner in the league.
Top 3.
Right. He's shown that he can play inside, he can play outside. The dude locks up top talent, and there's no reason to let him go, but we just don't have any hard evidence to show that he's paid corners. Like, they just have a good history of drafting good corners and putting them out there. So it's going to be, to me, it's a tough thing. Do they trade him? They should not, but who knows?
Yeah. To be fair, Trent McDuffie was the first big investment they made in the position, and it was a good one. And so I think they should pay him and they should keep him. And I just think you can't overstate how advantageous it is to have a cornerback that essentially is almost always going to eliminate someone else's number one or number two receiver. And that's what the Chiefs currently have in McDuffie. They've gotten by in the past because like they used to have a model where they'd bring in, these guys off the scrap heap and they'd get decent play at corner. But man, I just think when it comes to like an AFC championship game or Super Bowl, and you're going up against the Devontae Smiths and the AJ Browns of the world, you need to have a Trent McDuffie to match up.
I think the only thing that like worries me is, and I think they should pay Trent McDuffie, but how do you pay George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie? You just paid Trey Smith. You can't. I mean, who's not going to get paid because of these contracts?
Well, I think we kind of talked about it. Like they're slacking a little bit when it comes to running back. Our wide receiver room isn't up yet, and you got plenty of young talent on that's still got years until they get paid. And they've kind of, if we're looking at it from a bigger picture, they've been patching the receiver room for multiple years.
Quite a while now, yeah.
And your safeties have, for the most part, been cheaper. I mean, Justin Reed got paid, Honey Badger got paid, but they went really cheap now. I mean, none of those guys are getting paid.
Yeah, no.
So the tight end room is about to get pretty cheap, in my opinion. Noah Gray's not going to. I mean, he already got paid.
And he got extended. And then Kelsey will come off the books, that $19 million.
So I think that they know where they can. I mean, when you have an elite, the best quarterback in the NFL, he's going to make players better than what they are. So I think you can slack in some areas, and that's why they've paid who they've paid. But then you also got to take into consideration all these deals that are going on with TV. I mean, you got Netflix getting involved, Amazon Prime, Peacock, all these. And so the salary cap's going to continue to climb. So, and I'm sure they're taking in that into consideration and from a business standpoint. So they know where they're at. But yeah, I think they just have learned areas where they can slack a little bit in paying. And corner has been one of them. I mean, right now, if you look, the cornerback room is not a highly paid position for the Chiefs. Like, it's just not. They drafted Noel Williams. Najee Johnson's coming back. They still got Jalen Watson. And none of those guys are
Christian Fulton.
Yeah, Christian
Fulton's probably their most expensive corner.
Right, and he's just – I mean, they're just not paying a huge amount of money. Christian Fulton's a stud, though, by the way. I'm so excited for him.
I know. Yeah, that was one of my favorite signings. I wanted him a couple years ago.
LSU kid. I mean, LSU, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, just – I mean, I'm excited for what he's going to be able to do. I think – yeah, not to get off subject, but yeah.
No, I agree because, like, obviously there was the cornerback depth got exposed a little bit last year after Jalen Watson went down, and I think Christian Fulton is the guy. That was the reason they signed him, is they have someone else that can man up. I mean, he's a man corner.
Well, and I think too, like, him a lot. He's always been expected to be the guy everywhere he's been, and rightfully so. You're coming out of LSU, first round talent, but now that he's not the number one guy, I think you're going to see a really good Christian Fulton. Like,
for sure.
He's going to be covering guys that are not – I mean, any receiver in the NFL besides Sky Moore is elite. But no. But I'm just saying, like, I think him not having to cover ones all the time and maybe getting a 2 or a 3 is going to up his game so much more.
Yeah. So a couple more topics, and then we can wrap this up. But, Lucas, we're talking about going cheap at some of these other positions, and another position in which they had the opportunity to go cheap at, if this works out, is at left tackle. And that's kind of been the topic of conversation really all offseason. Who's going to start at left tackle? Is it going to be Jalen Moore? Is it going to be Josh Simmons? Michael and I have I think Michael's kind of, his take is kind of developed throughout the offseason. I'm still holding firm on Jalen Moore at the moment, but who do you think is going to start at left tackle, man?
Josh Simmons, 100%. Josh Simmons, like everything. Like I was talking to my dad tonight about this, and it was a really good conversation. You never hear Andy Reid really speak super highly about. he does speak highly about his players, but what I'm trying to say is like he never really like overhypes people. He wasn't like the overhyped guy on Kingsley. He just doesn't hype people up that way. I think he lets their plays speak for themselves. Andy has spoke very well of Josh Simmons and has kind of hyped Josh Simmons up. And everything that I'm hearing, obviously it's just what you hear. Everybody hears it through social media or on the radio, but Josh Simmons is going to be that guy. And I don't see how you can sit there and let someone of that talent, if he is healthy, sit when you could sure up your left tackle spot for years and years to come. So yeah, I'm all on the Josh Simmons hype. I'm all on that he's starting. And I think he's going to be. I think he has not necessarily this year, but I think he's going to be an All-Pro.
So my follow-on question then is, and then I'll let Michael talk, but I do have a follow-on question for you, Lucas. What do you do with Jalen Moore then? Because he's actually, I think he's like a top 3 highest paid player on the offense right now. Yeah. Just when you look at the contracts that they have given out, yeah. I mean, it just is hard for me to fathom that a guy making $15 million per year, which is a pretty heavy chunk of change, like it's just not going to play at all. Like, are they going to pay $15 million per year for a 6th man on the O-line?
Keep an eye on what he does in training camp and in the preseason. I think he's your replacement right tackle.
Yeah, and we've talked about that too. Like Michael has brought that up a couple times. I think he'd be a really awesome like right tackle in the future. But like, do you think there's any chance at all, both of you guys really, that they oust Jawaan Taylor this year? And I'm not even saying like get rid of him because like obviously financially like he's not going anywhere. But do they just kind of bite the bullet and say, hey, Jalen Moore's our starter here?
I think they still roll with it. I think with Moore's history, he doesn't have a ton of starting experience. He's always kind of been a backup. That's kind of been his role, even at Sanford. Like he's not starting over Trent Williams, and when Trent got hurt, that's when he got his moment. So I think he's understanding of that role, and so I think that he's going to be flexible. I think he's excited to be a part of a winning culture. Not that the 49ers weren't a winning culture, but I mean, look what the Chiefs have done historically since Mahomes has been there. So I think he'll be okay. He got paid, so what do you have to complain about?
Yeah.
And so then I really do believe that he's going to learn both tackle positions, and I do think he's Jawaan Taylor's replacement. And again, we don't know how that knee's going to hold up, so he may end up having to start.
Well, I'll say this really quickly. I think that the momentum of him taking over for Taylor potentially during the season, if Taylor's just horrible, watch what happens in training camp very closely, because I think that he's going to get a lot of snaps at right tackle. And if Jawaan Taylor is struggling and he's continually costing this team with penalties, I wouldn't be surprised if Andy says, hey, we'll see what you got, Jalen. Go in there and take over for, Jawaan, who has been benched before. He has been benched before. And, maybe, if the Chiefs had more capable guys on their offensive line, then maybe he wouldn't be the starter. Well, he would be the starter because of the investment in him. But maybe they do put Jalen Moore over him at some point this season.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you, because I don't feel like this is being talked about enough because we're on the offensive line. Is anybody concerned about left guard?
Yes.
Michael is for sure.
We've just given the job to Kingsley, and there's no track record that shows that he's going to be any better at left guard than he was at left tackle. Like, we're all, hopeful. We're all assuming, but we all felt like, oh, Kingsley can slot it at left tackle and be just fine. He wasn't just fine. And in fact, he got benched very quickly in that season. And so, yeah, we're all optimistic that he's going to make the transition to left guard and be fine. And he might be all right, but we can't just write it off like it's a guarantee.
I mean, if you think about it, if you do start Josh Simmons, you have a rookie left tackle, and you pretty much have a rookie right guard or left guard, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, to me, that to me is a little scary. And he has one game where he showed he was okay at left guard.
Yeah.
When he played the Broncos, and I mean, super late in the year. So I don't know. I'm super worried about left guard.
I'm not as worried. I'm actually pretty confident because I've said from like day one, even when the Chiefs drafted Kingsley, that hey, if this guy doesn't work out a tackle, like I think easily just the measurables, the athleticism, this is a plus level starter at guard. So I'm very confident about his ability at guard, and I think Wanya Morris is another one that's in the same boat. Everyone's kind of forgotten about him. He played hurt last year at tackle, but like he's another one that I think could absolutely start at guard if you had to play in there. And if that ends up being the case, I'm fine with that because Wanya Morris at this point has a good amount of experience under his belt, and he has at least a year on Kingsley. He could start at guard for you, and I actually would be pretty comfortable with that.
And he's played everywhere too, so he's kind of got experience across the line.
Yeah. Do not be, like for the Chiefs fans that are listening, they're like, what? Wanya Morris, like, do not be fooled by like the fact that he was playing injured at left tackle last year. That guy can play, and he can definitely be a good starting guard in the NFL.
I agree.
For sure.
So there's one more topic I want to talk about, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. Now, I stole this idea from Michael earlier. I asked it to my subscribers. He talked about it on his channel, but I want to ask you, Lucas. So with Rashee Rice and his sentencing, 30 days in jail that can be served at any time, along with 5 years probation. Lucas, if you were sentenced to 30 days jail time and you can just serve it whenever you want, how would you break it up? Would you do the whole 30 days in one go? Would you, Michael's guest that he had on said he would kind of do like 5 days a week and then like weekends off type thing. But what would you do?
I thought about it, and you obviously have 12 months in a year. And so I would try to do like 3 days a month, or obviously my math's not adding up, but I would do enough to where like I'm getting like maybe a week a month and then calling it good.
Michael, what actually was your answer? What would you do?
So I said that I would just do all 30 days straight, which I had a commenter be like, you clearly have never been to jail. And guess what, guys? I haven't been to jail. So I can't give an accurate representation of what it would be like. But the way that my mind works is who wants to go in there for 5 days and then take the weekend off, and then you got to go back in on Monday to the cell? Like, that doesn't sound any fun to me. So I'll go full prison Mike. I'll put the bandana on my head and I'll go for 30 days.
I mean, it'll be a culture shock at first. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's getting the luxury. They're not going to put him anywhere close to anybody. He's literally going to be in a whole entire section to himself. Nobody's going to like it. They're going to stick
him. They wouldn't do that to me. They would not give me that.
Stick him in the cakiest area, probably the cakiest prison. Like, he's literally going to. Yeah.
I thought of the SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob and Patrick go to jail and they're like scared to death, and the guards like open the door 2 seconds later and they're like, okay, you can go home. And they were like, that's it. That's what Rashee Rice's jail sentence is going to be like. He's going to like walk in there and then they're going to let him ride out.
Yeah. I mean, and I would rather do just 30 days straight, get it over with. Just, this is the worst thing ever. Get it done.
Be like a mini basic training. Lucas and I can do it.
Yeah. I mean, essentially.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was like prison.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, Michael had his counter and they're like, you've never been to prison before. You don't know what it's like. I mean, look, the military is not jail or prison, but I mean, look, basic training, like it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
And I'll tell you what, I may never have been to prison, but I've watched Sky Moore play football. So I'm just about as miserable as they would be.
Yeah, you think they're showing the Chiefs games in there? Like, well, because I said this on my video that I did. If I was him and let's say he gets 4 games, which is about a month, I would just go and serve the sentence while you're suspended. That's what I would do if I were him.
He might.
Now, I wonder if they show the Chiefs games in there, though, if he'd be able to watch.
Or
if they give him his phone.
He's going to have his phone. He's probably going to have a
like Chiefsaholic.
Don't let him DoorDash food. Don't let him DoorDash food if he wants.
Yeah.
Sure, so with Chiefsaholic.
He's NCAA football. He's going to be doing it at Madden. Yeah, he'll have it all.
Yeah.
My thing, though, is like, I wonder if it could even get knocked down more to where it's like house arrest. Like, I know that they've
Give him the Epstein deal where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you're in jail, but like you get work release for like 14 hours a day or whatever.
Right. And I'm kind of curious, like, if he can even get it knocked down more, like, hey, we'll do this if you let me do like house arrest or something.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't end up dead, then, you know, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Man, just don't do it again.
Yeah, because he was very close to becoming kind of the next.
Well, you know, one thing I was going to bring up, and I didn't necessarily hit on it too much, but like the difference between like a Henry Ruggs or like Shadur and all these guys is like with Rice, there was kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a family, and so like I could see the NFL being a little bit more strict because there were kids involved versus like just adults. And I know like none of that really matters. Like, still you're impacting lives, but like the fact that you put a kid's life at risk. I mean, a perfect example is go back to Andy Reid's son. Like Andy Reid's son hit a car and like, I mean, he's no longer in football, if I believe. So like, and granted, he's not a player, but like the impact that, you know, Andy has on the NFL. And I mean, that just is an example right there of a kid being involved in something an NFL person did. So I could see them maybe potentially being a little bit more stricter just because a kid was involved.
When the difference between like the Henry Ruggs and Rashee thing is fractions of an inch, when you're going that fast, I mean, who knows if he just swerves a little bit more in this direction? I mean, it's yikes.
Well, and there were like kind of, I guess, conspiracy theories as well. I'll call them even right after the incident happened that maybe he wasn't the one driving the car and he's the one taking the blame. He's taking the fall for it. And so, because maybe, you know, his friends, you know, they're not of NFL athlete status. They don't have the money. They're not going to be able to fight this. So maybe he's taking the blame for one of them. But I wonder how different the situation would be if, let's say, you know, it did end tragically or a kid was severely injured. Would Rashee Rice still be taking the blame? That's if it wasn't him driving, because I know there were kind of like some little mini conspiracy theories out there. People were like, overanalyzing the video. Oh, he got out of the other side of the car. You know, I don't know.
The perfect example is Ruggs. I mean, look how much jail time Ruggs did, and he actually, you know, killed somebody. So, I mean, that
and he's pretty close to probably returning to the NFL.
Yeah,
like I think he's probably going to get signed by a team, you know, when he gets out, which is pretty soon.
I mean, that's another perfect example. That dude's been working out like he's going to practice daily, and he's in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows you probably what Rice will be able to do when he's in his 30 days.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, he'll still train in the yard.
Yeah, because he's not going to be allowed. When he's suspended, that is, he's not going to be allowed in the team facility. So it's like, you know, it's not even like you have an excuse like you should be somewhere else. Like, just go and serve the jail time.
Yeah,
you can still do everything there
for sure.
But I think that's a good place to stop, though. Kind of a interesting way to end the episode, but no, fun stuff to talk about. So definitely, guys, show us some love in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Before we sign off, though, Michael and Lucas, why don't you let everyone know where they can find your stuff?
You guys can just find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's about it.
Likewise, KC Sports Report.
There you guys go, and all that will be in the description down below. That's all we got for this one. We'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.